Well, the president is trying to build on those poll numbers as he meets with voters during his swing through 5 battleground states. Of course, it's not officially a campaign swing. Stephanie Cutter is the president's deputy campaign manager, and she joins me now. All right, Stephanie, let me ask you, good morning. Let me ask you about an interesting report that was in the Washington Post this morning with Dan Balz. A lot of anonymous quotes from folks at the campaign, but one in particular caught my eye, and that is this idea that that folks in the campaign team believe that Mitt Romney has done self-inflicted wounds to his narrative, if you will. Which ones were you guys referring to?
Well, I can tell you what my belief is on the self-inflicted wounds. I don't know who the anonymous quotes are. But, Mitt Romney created the crisis over his tax returns. If he had just put these tax returns out like everybody else does, maybe people wouldn't be going through and nitpicking them. He made some self-inflicted wounds by having some discrepancies between the tax returns he did release and his presidential disclosure forms about, he had never previously disclosed his Swiss bank account. He had never previously disclosed some of the foreign investments that he has. These are self-inflicted wounds. These are mistakes. He's also having a hard time on the ground empathizing with what people are feeling. You heard his comments on housing the other day. He said, banks are feeling just what you're feeling. They're going through a hard time, too. That's almost incredulous that a presidential candidate campaigning in a state where 44% of voters, of homeowners, are underwater on their mortgages to say something like that. So these are self-inflicted wounds. Normally in a presidential primary, a tough one like the Republican primary that's going now, candidates come out stronger. They are battle-tested, ready to go. That's not happening here. In fact, for independent voters, they have a 2-to-1 unfavorable view of Mitt Romney. And that's a tough position to be coming out of a presidential primary.
There was another provocative quote in there. Again, I think it was a one on background, but it had to do with a comparison of your candidate, President Obama, in 2008 versus where Mitt Romney is right now, and that is that somehow standing up or being able to defeat Hillary Clinton, who was thought of as on a high level as a presidential candidate, helped boost his numbers. So is the assumption that Mitt Romney's sort of playing down, punching down by struggling against a Newt Gingrich?
Well, I think they're struggling down against each other. What we didn't have in 2008 when Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were battling through the Democratic primaries, they weren't pushing each other further to the left. They were standing true to their positions. That's not the case here. I was listening to your report earlier, and Mitt Romney saying that Newt Gingrich is pandering to the Hispanic voters in Florida. They're both pandering to Hispanic voters in Florida. And at the end of the day, voters see that and voters understand it. And that's a real problem for them. They're not moving each other to aspirational tones. They're not putting out new visions for this country. They're battling each other. They're moving each other to the right. They're mudslinging. As a political observer, it's interesting to watch. We don't know where it's going to end up. Florida is neck and neck. It'll be interesting to watch over the next several days as we move up to the primary.
Let me ask you about your own campaign message. It does seem as if that the president and the campaign team is moving in a more populist message, and Republicans believe that this is a mistake by you guys because anytime Democrats have come out looking like they're anti-wealth or anti-business or anti-rich, that there actually has been a little bit of a snapback with independent voters a little bit who don't like when it goes a little too far. Are any concern there? If you look back on past history, when Democratic candidates, Al Gore, John Kerry in particular, have gone sort of the people versus the powerful, it's not quite worked.
Well, I think that the concern is on the Republican side because they're not understanding the president's message and they're not understanding where the country is. It's not about populism. It's not about people versus the powerful. It's about how we're going to build an economy that's meant to last. It's how we're going to create new and better jobs so people can actually get ahead. They can make a wage where they can save a little, send their kids to college, buy a home. These are the American values that made this country strong, and the president wants to return to it. And it's not a shift for him. These are things that he's been talking about since he ran for the United States Senate in 2004. These are things that I heard personally in the 2004 Democratic Convention. He said to a national audience. So I think that there is a fundamental misreading on the Republican side about what the president's message is and what his vision is for the economy. He said it best. You know, it's not class warfare when a millionaire is paying less, a millionaire or a billionaire is paying less in taxes than his secretary. That's not class warfare. It's common sense to want to fix that. And that's where the American people are. It's not Democrat, it's not independent, it's the American people. And he's been talking about it for some time. Look at the policies that we've put out. You know, going to Iowa and talking about increasing manufacturing, which for the first time in 9 years is actually creating jobs. That's not populist. That's building a strong foundation for this country, an economy that's meant to last, not a bubble economy based on recklessness and paper profits. And, you know, again, he's out west today talking about how we're going to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. It says at the lowest point in 13 years, our dependence on foreign oil. That's because the president has increased production at home, his increased investments in renewables. We've doubled fuel efficiency standards. These are things that we need to do if we want a strong, lasting economy where everybody can get ahead. It's not a populist message. It's the message that the American people are looking for.
And let me ask you, since I last talked to you on air, you guys went up with your first TV ad from the campaign, and it was a defensive ad. And it would seem to be a defense against a third-party group that's been hitting the president on Solyndra. How much damage was that ad doing that you guys felt you had to do a response ad?
Well, you know, Chuck, tens of millions of dollars has been spent on the president in negative advertising just in the Republican primary. And when the third-party Solyndra ad went up, we decided, you know what, we're going to fight this on our terrain. Anytime we talk about clean energy and the president's clean energy record, it's good for us. He's the first president in modern times to actually move this country forward on clean energy and reduce our dependence on foreign oil. So anytime we can have that debate, we're happy to have it.
Stephanie Cutter, Deputy Campaign Manager for the Obama campaign. Stephanie, thanks for coming in to...
Thank you, Chuck.
Right down the street, down there at MAQ. Thanks.